You're listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast, hosted by Dylan Dillo Smith, Midwestern Ontario one and only MMA podcast, where we interview MMA fighters and voice actors like Sergeant Frank Woods.
What is up, everybody? It is Dillo, and welcome to another episode of the Dillo's Dojo podcast. This is episode 21, and we're going to be starting the episode today with some good old Twitter drama and my entire opinion on this whole Twitter drama. I haven't talked about MMA Twitter drama in a long time, in a couple months, and, you know, part of me is kind of glad that I get to talk about this shit again, but also part of me is also pissed off that it's happening because the Twitter drama that is happening has to be the dumbest shit that has ever occurred. So, I guess, without further ado, let's just get into it. So, a couple months back, I talked about how the terrible group of people known as the popular group of MMA Twitter, they're like these accounts that have over like 4K followers or more, and, you know, they act like they're fucking e-celebs. You know, they have absolutely no following at all, but they act like they're e-celebs. And they're so full of themselves. And most of these people, like actually, not most of them, pretty much every single one of them are in their late 20s, 30s, or 40s. You know, these people have been either watching the sport for a long time, or they're just, you know, older people that have gotten into the sport recently and have gotten really into the community. And, you know, usually I'd be fine with with new fans coming in and, you know, expressing their opinion. I enjoy that all the time. Of course, I always get mad when casuals make stupid fucking opinions and stuff, but, you know, I always enjoy seeing new fans come into the community. I love seeing our community grow. However, these people are absolutely pathetic. All right? These people, like I said, in this group, most of these people are like late 20s, 30s, 40s. These people should be acting like grown adults, you know, like we all should be. We should be acting like grown adults. Yeah, it's great to have a sense of humor, but we should be acting like grown adults. We should be handling situations like grown adults. So, a while back, I talked about a situation with everybody's favorite MMA take guy on Twitter, Phil the MMA dude. I don't know if you guys fucking understood that, but that was fucking sarcasm. The guy has the worst takes and gets shit on constantly. It's like a fucking German scat porn in that guy's mentions. It's hilarious. Anyway, so a while back, that fucking douchebag came out and started accusing another MMA e-celeb, like an MMA Twitter e-celeb, Boogerbeard, or accusing him of racism, actually, saying the N-word on an old video and deleting it. And he had the evidence, apparently. So he went out in public, because he has like 22.5K followers, so he's got a pretty big platform. He goes out to his massive platform and accuses Boogerbeard, this guy who, up until now, has done nothing but make these weird, aggressive, like, homoerotic videos saying that he's going to knock a fighter out and suck them off. And, you know, it's a whole character. It's a shtick, right? It's shock comedy, and the fighters actually enjoy it. They actually pay for these things, but they don't pay directly. What they do is they send a donation to the Good Fight Foundation, which is Dustin Poirier's foundation, and they take a screenshot of the receipt of their donation and they send it to Boogerbeard, and then Boogerbeard takes that as a form of payment, sends them the video that they want. It's like a cameo. So apparently, I think this was like August, September, I believe. Apparently, they were accusing poor old Boogerbeard of being racist, saying that he said the N-word on video, and that they had the video. And, you know, Boogerbeard didn't take it lying down. He got pretty upset about it and called Phil out about it. And that was when a lot of people, including myself, started absolutely harassing Phil for the evidence. You know, he said he's got the evidence and he's going to put out the evidence. Then put out the fucking evidence. If you truly have video of him saying the N-word, pop it out. Prove yourself right. Until then, you're just looking like a fucking idiot. And that's exactly what he did. All of us were quote tweeting his tweets or, jumping in his mentions saying, like, where's the evidence, Phil? Like, drop the evidence, Phil. And those that would either get blocked or just ignored completely. Like, other people will get replied because they're not talking about the evidence, they're talking about something else or the topic at hand. And then the rest of us would get blocked or ignored, even though this guy just came out and accused this guy who's doing good. He was accusing this guy for being a racist with no fucking evidence whatsoever. So that's not all. So Booger Beard kind of ignored it for months. Every now and then Phil would bring him up because Phil is pretty much a 40-year-old man with a fucking podcast who thinks he's an e-celeb, but he's actually not. And, he's actually universally shit on by the larger group of MMA Twitter, unless you're one of those fucking sheep that follow the popular accounts. And I'm not saying all the popular MMA Twitter accounts are awesome. There's actually a couple who stay out of the drama, and they're mostly just comedy accounts. For one, Booger Beard is a great guy to follow because he constantly just makes those stupid videos and stuff. Another one I love, I can't remember his off the top of my head, but his name on Twitter is Hectic One, and he just does all these MMA memes, and they're hilarious. There's McMalley MMA. He follows me, which I'm pretty proud of, but he's just, again, he's a guy who's down to earth, talks about drinking beer and barbecuing and smoking weed, watching the fights. He's a comedian. He doesn't get involved in any drama. Like, there are good popular accounts out there. But then there's Phil and his little crony group. And I'm sure you guys have heard this before. I talked about this on the podcast. It happened a little bit after my birthday. I did have an issue directly with somebody in that popular group. She herself is not popular, but she, associates heavily with a lot of people in that group. And everybody knows her as Gina now, but she used to go as G-Spot MMA until everybody just fucking shit on her and clowned on her and, just ruined her because she's just this holier-than-thou douchebag that's so hypocritical. So, I had my issue with her. But anyway, so Phil didn't let this Booger Beard shit go and kept mentioning him for months. But it wasn't bad. It was just like little pop shots here and there. But recently, I don't know what sprung it. I think it was somebody that goes by the name of Jess. I don't have the @ right here at the top of my head. I could probably get it real quick, though. Yeah, Jessica Armadell. Just, she posted a tweet that was criticizing Booger Beard and his act, calling him homophobic, and that's disgusting, and that it actually damages a lot of people. And then Phil came in, jumped, like frothed at the mouth, and jumped on the opportunity to shit on Booger Beard and call him a homophobe, and then started accusing him of stealing from the Good Fight Foundation and pocketing the money. Even though I just explained how he gets his payment, essentially. It's not even a payment, but I explained how he does his videos and what the payment process is. He doesn't receive the money. The donation center does. He just receives the receipt. So he knows, oh, okay, that person made that donation. But anyway, Phil was accusing him of donation fraud, charity fraud, which was really upsetting. That's a big fucking accusation. And not only that, but he was jumping on this whole Booger Beard is homophobic angle. Now, I don't know about you. I know a lot of gay people. Actually, a couple of my family members are gay. I've had gay friends in high school and everything. And when I joke about being gay, when I make like gay jokes and I'm like, oh, hey, honey, like, you're so pretty, stupid shit like that, they laugh and they play along. They love that shit. It's almost like you're accepting of their shit. So I'm sorry and call me ignorant. I don't fucking care. But I fail to see the issue with a man going about openly talking about how he's going to suck a fighter's dick after knocking them out, or how he's just going to suck a dick out of the blue. Like, he talks about being horny at random times, or, I'm going to suck that dude's dick, stupid shit. And the thing is, they're assuming Booger Beard's orientation, by the way. We don't know that he's straight. He's never actually claimed he's straight. He's never claimed he's gay. He's never actually stated his sexual orientation. But yet, these people are coming out accusing him of homophobia. This Jessica Armadell girl and Phil were frothing at the mouth, just just disparaging his name and calling him homophobic with absolutely no evidence other than all of his videos involve him talking about sucking dick. You know, nothing about him being straight and like talking about sucking dick, just him sucking dick. Little do we know he could be bisexual or he could be gay. And that's just funny to him. Like, little do you know he could be severely openly gay. I shouldn't say severely because that's not bad, but like super openly gay. And we just don't know about it because it's part of his act and he just acts like that all the time. So it's like, oh, he's just a funny gay guy. And even if he is gay, like there's nothing wrong with it. He's open about it. But yet these people are assuming his orientation and calling him homophobic. So that's 3 strikes on Phil now, and yet everybody's still fucking rallying against him. Actually, I've seen some of the popular people subtweeting Booger Beard saying, you know, homophobia is not okay on this platform and we need to get rid of it, and it's pretty sickening, and telling how some of you support that shit. And then there's obviously the fucking forehead of justice known as KGB, that dumb bitch. Jumped in out of nowhere and just started fucking accusing Booger Beard of all this shit, and was like, she just lives for the drama. And the way they handle themselves in a conversation, it is the most immature way ever. Like, the people that I associate with on MMA Twitter, I don't associate with many people, but even the clones, like the bad people that I don't like on MMA Twitter, were rational about their explanations and saying, like, I don't think you need to be virtue signaling for a group that has never actually complained about his act and actually has openly stated some of their fucking, you know, some of that orientation enjoy the act and think it's hilarious as well. Yeah, like, I'm a little bothered that they were so quick to jump on that shit. But like, you know, they were these clones, like these immature teenagers or supposedly immature teenagers were coming in with this rationale. Like, hey, like, has it ever occurred to you that, you know, him openly talking about sucking dick and, you know, making it acceptable almost is not homophobic? Like, that's making it okay, like acceptable to talk about. Like, you know, it'd be homophobic if he just started fucking making fun of fighters and said, I'm going to suck your dick and you're going to be a fag for it, you know, something like that. But he didn't. He just openly talked about knocking out fighters and sucking their dicks for a joke. Like, nothing bad about it. If anything, he's making it okay to talk about it. Like, I just don't get the issue here. I don't get the homophobia aspect of it. So it was really sad that all these people were coming out with this evidence too. You know, these bisexuals, these gay people coming out and saying, like, Booger Beard hasn't offended me with his content. Actually, his content makes me laugh and makes me feel comfortable to be gay and stuff. And you know, the donation shit, there was people coming out with their receipts. Even fighters, like, you know, verified fighters and stuff were coming out with their receipts proving Phil wrong. But yet these fucking teenagers, I say that with quotations because they're actually like 30, 40 years old, but these fucking wannabe high school teenagers, these adults that never grew out of their high school phase, just don't care. These people are coming with these, like, with these rationales, man. And you know what their response is? Like I said, this is the mentality of these people. Okay, I'm not going to read that whole paragraph, or too long, didn't read, or okay, don't care. You know, stupid shit like that. They come with these rational fucking statements in this evidence, and their response to all of this is, don't care, didn't ask. Like a fucking teenage girl or a teenage fucking boy who just, oh, well, you know, I just got proven wrong, so I'm going to look like an even bigger idiot and just say, don't care. You know, it's just so fucking immature. I don't get the whole issue about it, but I think this isn't going to get any traction. I know that, but I think we should stop idolizing these people in the MMA Twitter community. Like, Phil, everybody should like start unfollowing Phil because he's kind of a fucking dick and he's kind of a manipulative douche. KGB, same thing. Like, everybody should stop fucking sucking her clit and unfollow her and stop like going, yes, girl, like, all your statements are slay. Like, no, we need to fucking hold these people accountable. They're acting like immature teenagers. They're trying to cancel a man because he gained, I think he started his account in like January of 2020, and he's already got 13.8K. Meanwhile, Phil the MMA douche over here has fucking 22.5K, and he's had his account since like 2014 or something like that. So, like, part of me, and they're never gonna admit it, but part of me thinks this is jealousy because Booger Beard is getting all this interaction from these fighters, their managers and shit, their camp, like their coaches, and he's gaining all these followers so goddamn fast because of what he's doing, and he's using his platform instead of just being lazy and saying, "Hey, look at my platform, I got 22K followers," or "Hey, all these people like my shit and they constantly reply to my tweets." Like, no, instead of doing that and just being complacent with how big his platform is, he uses that platform for good, and they're jealous of it. That's all it is. But they won't admit that, so they try to find reasons to tear him down. They'll create things out of the blue, or they'll misinterpret things and try to stretch the truth so then it looks bad on him. So, just a fair warning, if you're new to the MMA Twitter community or you follow these fucking assholes, you should probably unfollow them. And if they do start making a big deal about Booger Beard or anyone for that matter, take their opinions with a very tiny grain of salt, because you have to remember these are actual adults with the mentality of teenagers, and not even teenagers that are about to graduate high school. Like, teenagers that just got into high school. Like, they've got the mentality of 14, 15-year-olds, and it's fucking pathetic. Like, some of the clones, which is a toxic group of cancerous teenagers on MMA Twitter, some of them are more mature than these fucking adults. And that's telling you something. But anyway, I've ranted about this for too long. This whole situation makes me mad. Everybody go follow Booger Beard on Twitter, because even if you're out of the MMA community, he does great things. You can donate to the Good Fight Foundation and get a personalized video of him talking about how he's going to knock you out and suck your dick or something like that. Whatever you want, he'll do it. He's a shock comedian. Go follow him and just do some good in the world, and don't fall victim to these fucking manipulative assholes that are actual children. Other than that, yeah, I'm done talking about this. Before I get to the second half of the podcast, I want to talk about the Casey Kenney situation because it blew up last week, and I'm going to be very brief about it. So just to kind of TLDR it, give you guys the whole rundown very quickly here. Casey Kenney went on Sean O'Malley's podcast and said some very disrespectful things about Megan Anderson, but I wouldn't say it was super disrespectful. I think she just thought it was disrespectful because Casey Kenney's not like the mass majority of her fucking simps that literally thirst over her like every second or third picture of lingerie that she posts. But that's besides the point. I'm not gonna fucking invalidate how she feels, but personally I didn't think it was all too respectful. Yes, Casey Kenney could have said it in a nicer way. He couldn't have said it at all. But anyway, what happened was Sean O'Malley's coach asked Casey Kenney what he thought of Megan Anderson, like if he would smash Megan Anderson, and Casey Kenney said no, only if I was in a desperate situation. She's more of a 4 a.m., 5 a.m. type of girl. And it's a pretty disrespectful comment, I'm not gonna lie, but I wouldn't take any offense to it if I was her. I'd just laugh and be like, yeah, well, you're short and you look like a fucking inbred, so I mean, who's talking? Like, really, who's talking? But anyway, she decided to take it the snowflake route and called him out publicly and started going, wah, my fifis, even though, like I said, she gets mad when people either call her fucking hot or talk about her looks, even though every second or third picture is her in some model photo shoot type of shot in lingerie. Not like a bathing suit showing off her bathing suit, literal fucking lingerie you'd wear to like churn on your partner in bed. And so that's kind of why I didn't think this was such a big deal. But see, everybody else thought differently, including the popular group of MMA Twitter, but obviously they would, because they're fucking teenagers at heart and their social justice warrior need comes out to play. But I personally thought it was just typical locker room talk, and it didn't need to happen on the podcast. Yeah, what he said was disrespectful, but Megan Anderson didn't have to be such a fucking snowflake about it. This is a professional fighter that gets punched in the face for a living, that puts herself out there to a public following of like 500K, And like I said, every other picture is her showing off of her tall, skinny, voluptuous body. So, you kind of have to expect people talking about your looks. But anyway, he didn't have to say it like that. The question really didn't even need to be asked or answered at all. It's just typical locker room talk. And I know people are going to get mad saying, you shouldn't accept that as locker room talk. You sexist. But I'm not fucking sexist. That's literally what it was. There was no harm done by it. It was literally just locker room talk. And Megan Anderson should not get her panties in a bunch. Like I said, this is a professional fighter that also puts herself out there as like almost like a model. So really, she needs to fucking grow a pair. But anyway, my biggest issue with the whole situation, and not enough people are talking about it, is that Sean O'Malley was sitting over there just moments before that question was asked, holding a goddamn baby in his arms, talking about how people who won't do heroin are pussy, too pussy to do heroin, and that he wouldn't be too pussy to do heroin, and that he wouldn't get addicted to it because he's not stupid and only stupid people get addicted to heroin, that only stupid people get addictions. That is what I thought everybody should be making a bigger deal about, is that Sean O'Malley, the absolute disrespect for people who literally struggle with an actual mental disease. And it was disgusting. He said all of this while he's fucking sitting here cradling his fucking baby in his arms, pretty much. He's just talking about how he'll do heroin. He's down to do heroin. People who won't do it are pussies, and only stupid people get addicted. Like, that is the most ignorant shit I've ever heard. Like, yeah, I guess, the women that are overly offended over everything can make a big deal about Casey Kenney's comment. Because, like I said, I'm not going to invalidate how she felt. I'm just saying she probably should have, just toughened up and, made fun of him back, really. But I'm not going to invalidate how she felt about the statement, because personally, even, like I said, it's locker room talk, but even I thought the statement was pretty fucking sleazy. Like, it's locker room talk, and it should stay in the locker room. The way he said it was just so disrespectful. All he had to do was just say, no, she's just not my type. Of course they would have asked, oh, well, why is she not your type? But all Casey Kenney would have to say is like, I just don't want to get into it. Just not my type, But instead, he decided to take one of the most brutal responses, literally telling them, no, I wouldn't fuck her. Only if I was in a desperate situation. She's a 4 a.m., 5 a.m. type girl. Like, that is rough. That is rough. But yeah, I don't think the big issue shouldn't be with Casey Kenney. A lot of people are calling for Dana White to fire Casey Kenney or whatever and get him off the card. I don't think that should happen. But I do think a lot more issues should be brought upon Sean O'Malley and his just blatant disregard for addiction. And speaking as someone who's had family members who've battled with addiction, I've actually seen alcohol withdrawal firsthand, and it's fucking frightening. Addiction is no fucking joke. Say what you want. You can call people weak for having an addiction, but that just shows how ignorant you are. Addiction is a hard fucking thing to fight, especially when the addiction was caused by sorrow in the first place, and you're using that addiction to kind of mask the pain. And now you got to deal with the pain and quit cold turkey, and now you're dealing with the withdrawals and the effects of the addiction. It's hard to fucking fight it. And a lot of people struggle with it every day. It's a common fucking occurrence. And here Sean O'Malley is talking about a very serious drug in heroin. Doesn't matter. It can be regular fucking heroin, black tar. Heroin is a serious fucking drug to do, to smoke, inject, whatever. It is a serious fucking drug. It fucks your whole body up. Not only that, but he's acting like it's not fucking, it's super hard. It's like the hardest of hard to get addicted to heroin. No, it's not. Like I said, it's extremely easy for somebody with an addictive personality to get addicted, but just as many people without addictive personalities become addicted to the effects of heroin because they enjoy it. It's a nice getaway from reality or whatever. It's a fucking dangerous drug. It destroys lives. It destroys families. It's like if he were to take meth not seriously at all, saying, oh yeah, no, I could do meth. I wouldn't get addicted to meth. Fuck, meth's great for you. Like, it's the same shit. It was the most ignorant fucking shit I have ever heard. Yes, what Casey Kenney said was sleazy, but I thought it was just nothing but locker room talk. I was upset with the ignorance of Sean O'Malley and how he knows he has a lot of young teenagers as fans because that's the type of fucking personality he's got. I smoke weed, man. I'm like Snoop Dogg. He knows that's his fan base. So very impressionable teenagers that, kind of are at risk of doing these types of drugs. And he's pretty much saying, oh, do heroin, man. Only stupid people get fucking addicted. It's not that bad. Like, no, that's pretty fucking dangerous to say. You're a public figure now, and you were holding a goddamn baby while saying it. That doesn't prove you to be a fucking responsible father, man. Just, like I said, I think the whole outrage is directed at the wrong person. I've been seeing some people direct their outrage towards Sean O'Malley, which is awesome, but I think all the outrage should be directed towards Sean O'Malley and a little bit at Tim Welsh for just asking that fucking question. Like, yeah, it's a comedy podcast. It's a bunch of boys having locker room talk, but who the fuck just outright asks that, like, on the spot to someone? Like, would you fuck this person? Like, yeah, like, you don't know what you're gonna say, because if you say yeah, then you're gonna sound creepy and rapey in some way, because they'll fucking twist and churn those words in some fucking fashion. And if you say it like Casey Kenney said it, because let's be honest, it was pretty rough, then somebody's fucking feelings are gonna get hurt. And that the second one happened, but it was just, the whole situation is dumb. Personally, to me, the whole Megan Anderson issue is fucking stupid, and the whole thing should have never became a huge issue. All she had to do was send the video to Casey Kenney's DMs and say, hey, can we talk about this? I didn't appreciate you doing this. She didn't have to immediately put him on blast. If anybody was going to be put on blast from that clip, it should have been Sean O'Malley. It definitely should have been Sean O'Malley. He showed the complete ignorance of him and the complete irresponsibility that he has as a fucking father. If that is his mindset, I can imagine that his kid is going to be a major fucking druggie by like 12. And I don't want that. I could imagine, I'm sure Sean's girlfriend is a great woman, and I'm hoping that even though Sean's a fucking idiot, that she's actually like a normal-headed one and knows that, Sean's just saying some stupid shit. Don't listen to daddy, honey. Like, I hope that she sets that kid straight, because if she has the same mindset as Sean O'Malley, good lord, I have a feeling that kid is gonna have a fucking bad time. But anyway, that's enough of this situation. I just wanted to talk about it real quickly because, fuck, man, it really pissed me off. And just the fact that the big issue is with what Casey Kenney said and not the blatant, dangerous disregard of heroin that Sean O'Malley was on about. So if you're still mad about that situation, please, please, please be mad about Sean O'Malley's ignorant comments. If anything, we should be canceling Sean O'Malley for that. That's just disgusting and just irresponsible. But anyway, I'm going to get on to the second half of this now. We're going to get into the main card of Overeem versus Volkov. This is going to be a great fight, folks. I'm excited to talk about this event. I'm excited for the whole card, honestly, to talk about it, because breaking down these fights, I love breaking down an Overeem fight, and this one just does not disappoint. So I'll see you guys in the next half. Alright, so now we're going to get into the actual UFC shit, the main card of Overeem versus Volkov, which just happened this weekend. So just to start things off, I'll just kind of breeze through the prelims before I actually name off the fights on the main card, because I have to say, even though it is a fight night, and some fight nights can be pretty good, a lot of the fight nights have been lacking on paper but have delivered, when it comes to showtime. This one definitely looked the part on paper. It looked amazing on paper, and I'll explain in a bit, but let's just get through these prelims before we get into the actual main card, the real meat and potatoes of the UFC card that most lesser hardcore fans want to watch. So let's get into that. Starting off the prelims, Ode Osborne actually opened up the prelims with a nice 26-second knockout over Jerome Rivera, and it was nice. It was like the first punch he threw, he rolled his shoulder into the high kick, caught the kick, and then backed him up against the cage. And as he was backing him up, making Rivera hop on one foot, he throws this like left straight. I don't even think it was a jab. It was literally a left straight with the way he was, and it just dropped Jerome Rivera. Like the first punch he throws drops Jerome Rivera, and Ode Osborne just swarms him with punches on the ground. It wasn't even long after he was swarming him with punches that the ref stepped in. Like it was clear it was over after that. He hits him with the punch and he like falls back and he's out of it, and you can tell. The next fight was Timur Valiev. He completely dominated Martin Day by just wrestling him the entire time. Pretty much the entire fight is 15 minutes, and pretty much I think like 8 or 9 minutes of that 15 minutes was spent on the ground being controlled by Timur Valiev. So yeah, Valiev won that very easily. Choi Sung-woo beat Yusuf Zalal via unanimous decision. Lara Procopio beat Molly McCann by unanimous decision. Carla Rosa beat Joseline Edwards by unanimous decision. And to end off the prelims, Devontae Smith defeated Justin James via round 2 TKO. We'll get into the main card, though, because the main card is what I wanted to talk about. So the main card on paper definitely delivers. Like, if you look at this card, it looked incredible. So obviously the main event's a typical heavyweight main event. Top 6. Well, number 6 guy trying to break into the top 5 against Alistair Overeem. Volkov, he's very well known in the heavyweight division. He beat Greg Hardy and couldn't finish him, but he beat him. He made a lot of people happy that day when he beat Greg Hardy, and he's just a mainstay of the UFC's heavyweight division so far. And he's just an incredible kickboxer. He's very tall, very quick with his punches. He's got heavy hands. So it was really exciting because he's going up against an absolute veteran of the heavyweight division, Alistair Overeem, who's been fighting since like 1999, I want to say, maybe, and he's got at least 60 fights on his record. So yeah, let's just say it was a main event of absolute veterans. But Alistair Overeem too, he's a Dutch kickboxer. He's very well known for his kickboxing. He's very quick. He's got extreme power in his hands and his kicks. Mostly his kicks. Like, if you get hit with Alistair Overeem's body kick, it's gonna hurt. Like, it's gonna hurt. So this was a very polarizing main event, in my opinion, as a hardcore MMA fan. I enjoyed it. But that wasn't the only fight on the main card that actually had my attention. The co-main event was also incredible. We have a top 5 bantamweight showcase. Number 2 in the world versus number 4 in the world. Frankie Edgar versus Corey Sandhagen, who's fresh off of a win against Marlon Moraes. He head kicked Marlon Moraes into oblivion. Frankie Edgar, fresh off of a absolute brawl and war with Pedro Munoz. So, that itself is a great fight as is. But lower on the card, not just the main event and the co-main event, those 2 fights as is are just incredible. But before that, the featured fight before the co-main is another fight of absolute veterans. We have Michael Johnson, who's got 37 fights on his record. Not the best record, and not the best looking record in my opinion, but a couple years ago he was considered like one of the next best things because he was on an absolute tear, and believe it or not, he almost finished Justin Gaethje. But then we've got an absolute veteran in Clay Guida, who's just very well known for his brawling. He loves brawling, and that's why everybody loves him, including myself. Michael Johnson's a guy who loves to strike too, so these 2 guys, it's like a match made in heaven. We got one guy who loves to brawl and can draw anyone into a brawl. And then we've got another guy who just loves to strike and almost finished Justin Gaethje. So it was exciting to see how this was going to go. So, that fight was great as well. And then before that fight, I'm telling you, this entire card on paper looked incredible. Before that fight, the third fight on the main card, Alejandro Pantoja versus the risen bantamweight or flyweight champion Manuel Cape, or is it Cape or Cop? I think it was Cop. They said on the broadcast last night. So this I was really excited for because I think this fight, I don't know if it was Pantoja he was supposed to make his debut against or what, but Manuel Kopp, he was supposed to make his UFC debut at the end of 2020, but obviously the fight got pushed back. And Pantoja, he's a top 5 flyweight. Like, he's up there. He's up there for like a title shot against Figgy. You know, a couple more fights and he'd be there. And this is quite the risky fight he's taking because we've got an absolute killer in Manuel Cape. I'm going to call him Cape. Fuck it. I'm used to calling him Manuel Cape. We have an absolute killer and Manuel Cape from an organization where, I mean, I'm going to be positive here. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are allowed to do fucking TRT and steroids over there. And he's fighting these guys and putting them on their ass and stuff. So he's coming over to the UFC, going up against Pantoja, and it's a very risky fight for Pantoja. So that's really exciting. And then before that, we've got one of my favorite fighters because he's just like a comeback kid, Beneil Dariush, who's just a great all-around mixed martial artist. He's got great submissions, and you know it may not look like it, but he's got heavy hands too. Like his counter punches can fucking put you on your ass. It's great. So we had that against Carlos Diego Ferreira. And that was guaranteed a barn burner. But to open up the main card, we had Mike Slow Rodriguez versus Danilo Marquez. And that actually started off with a nice little bang. Despite it being mostly a grapple fest, that started off with a bang. So without further ado, let's get into the actual main card of things. To start it off, the last fight I literally just talked about, Mike Rodriguez versus Danilo Marquez. We got a all-around, you know, balanced guy versus a world-class grappler who just loves to be on the ground and is very dangerous on the ground. And Mike Rodriguez was coming off of a very controversial loss that I think got overturned, if I remember, and they created a rule based off of his loss. So he was trying to get back into the win column, and he was doing it against a dangerous guy in Danilo Marquez. So, the fight went the way you'd think. Like, for the most part, it was on the feet, but, you know, Mike Rodriguez was trying to do his best. He was mostly on the back foot, throwing leg kicks, throwing kicks here and there, throwing punches, but it was very clear where the fight was going to go and how the fight was going to go. Danilo Marquez was pushing him up against the fence, just constantly weighing him down and trying to get him to the floor. I'm going to admit, though, Mike Rodriguez did an incredible job getting back up to his feet. He did great getting up to his feet and made it like it looked very taxing. And I could imagine it wasn't easy getting up to his feet again with all that weight on him because this is like 205, I believe. But unfortunately, like every time he'd get to his feet, he'd just get dragged right back down, get back up to his feet. After like a grueling time of getting back to his feet, he'd just get dragged back down. So that was like the whole thing of the fight. And then, you know, at the end of the first round, he just survives being dominated, and then the second round comes in, and it's the same story yet again, taken on the ground, completely dominated on the ground. Mike Rodriguez staying very calm on the ground, I'll admit. Joe Lozon doing his best to try and coach his fighter in that terrible position, but eventually, even though the round was about to get to a close, eventually Danilo Marquez took his back and had his right arm on the chin and started squeezing on the chin, but just couldn't get it under the chin. So it looked like Mike Rodriguez was about to slip out, and as Mike Rodriguez turned his head to slip out, that opened up Danilo Marquez's left arm and allowed it to wrap around him. He got sunk deep under the chin, right around the neck, and put him to sleep. And that was it. With literally like 8 seconds left on the clock of the round, he put Mike Rodriguez to sleep, and Danilo Marquez beats Mike Rodriguez via rear naked choke at the end of round 2. And that led us into our lightweight fight between Carlos Diego Ferreira and one of my favorite fighters in the lightweight division, Beneil Dariush. He's just, before I get into the fight, the reason why I like Beneil Dariush, like I said, he's a all-around balanced guy. He's very grizzled. He's a comeback guy. He's been through it. You know, his skill set's just very exciting to watch, and personality-wise, he's actually such a cool guy. So nice, so heartfelt, so caring, just all around cool. Like, I would love to have him on the show one day and actually talk to him, because he seems like a down-to-earth dude that would just love to have a chat, honestly. But you know, gushing aside, we're going to get into the fight. This was a guaranteed barn burner in my opinion. I mean, obviously the Michael Johnson Clay Guida one's a guaranteed barn burner, but this one was against a guy who's been in all sorts of type of brawls, and Carlos Diego Ferreira, who's just no slouch. And it went exactly the way I thought it would go. A lot of grappling, a lot of striking, but the fight for the most part, first round was very, very Benil Dariush-esque, in my opinion. He, in my opinion, won the first round. He edged it out by just, outstriking Carlos Diego Ferreira and using his takedowns to his advantage. Second round, though, was a little bit more close. It was very back and forth the second round, and it was very clear both guys were starting to gas out at this point because they were giving it their all. They were, fucking going to war. Every time they'd try to go to the ground, it wouldn't even last long. They'd get back up to their feet, or it'd be constant both struggling to get each other to the ground, and then when they're on their feet, it's just combo after combo. One guy rocks, or looks like they rocked one guy looks like they rocked the other. Like, it was just a constant back and forth. So the second round was a little bit more close in my opinion. I didn't exactly know who to score it for. But in the third round, Benil Dariush did just enough to edge it out. Actually, I thought Diego Ferreira did very good and trying to score out the round, but it was a really close round at the end, and Benil Dariush just edged it out with a takedown, I believe, at the end. Yeah, Benil Dariush ended up winning via a 30-27 and 29-28 on two judges' scorecards. He ended up beating Carlos Diego Ferreira via unanimous decision. And then, obviously, the next fight was the flyweight fight that I was really excited for, Manuel Cape versus Alejandro Pantoja. And it wasn't a back and forth like barn burner, both guys going to war, but I have to say I was a little disappointed with Manuel Cape's performance in this fight, and I was really impressed with Alejandro Pantoja and how he handled himself and just how patient he was, but how he was even though he was patient in picking his shots, he wasn't as accurate as Manuel Cape, but he was always first and was constantly outstriking Manuel Cape. The first round, it started pretty good for both guys, but every time it was mostly actually Alejandro Pantoja getting Manuel Cape on the back foot, and Manuel Cape, he hit some shots. I think throughout the entire first round, he hit maybe like 11 or 12 shots of significant strikes. But because it was like Manuel Cape was constantly on his back foot, and Pantoja was hitting him with leg kicks, and this 1-2 combo that would never really hit. A lot of the times it missed, but it made Manuel Cape move. It made him keep guessing. And in the first round, there was a lot more in the first round than there was in the second or third. He actually tried to Pantoja tried to mix up that 1-2 with a takedown. He would make Manuel Cape, focus on that 1-2 and try to defend it. And then immediately after he throws the second strike, I believe it was like a right cross, and he's like ducking down almost to kind of throw it. He slides down to grab the legs, but Manuel Cape actually showed some very good, like really, really, solid takedown defense. Didn't get taken down at all. Made it an absolute job for Alejandro Pantoja, and just I think that kind of set the tone for the entire fight. After he couldn't get Manuel Cape down to the ground, it was like, okay, well, I'm not going to try that anymore. And, it was a good thing he didn't. I mean, he could have and made it a bit easier for himself, but he was winning the fight anyway in the first round. First round, he ended up outstriking Manuel Cape. And then in the second round, it was the same deal. It wasn't like Manuel Cape was in trouble at any point in time, and neither was Pantoja. It's just Manuel Cape was constantly on his back foot, and Pantoja was just hitting him with 1 or 2 shots to Manuel Cape's one every 2 1-2 combos that Pantoja would throw. Manuel Cape would throw 1 shot, and it was very lopsided in the terms of strikes, but it wasn't a complete beatdown. It wasn't like Calvin Kattar versus Holloway where one guy was getting beat down. It was just one guy was outstriking the other. No guys were in trouble, though. In the third round, though, Manuel Cape started to kind of pick it up a bit. He started to become a little bit, more first towards his combos, and kind of didn't hurt Pantoja at all, but like, hit him with some nice heavy shots. And I believe he ended up outstriking Pantoja at the end of that round. But all in all, obviously, Pantoja ended up winning that fight because, you can't just stay on your back foot and only throw like one punch to your opponent's four and not, make any other aspect of MMA available, because if it's just a striking game and that's all you're going to go by, that's all the judges can score it as. And if you're just constantly on your back foot moving, and even though you're dodging those shots, if he's controlling the center and he's, outstriking you, it's not boxing. You don't get points for blocking those punches or dodging those punches. You need to be a little bit more active. And I'm saying this as a fan. Every fan said this, including the commentators even said this. Like, it's a little weird because, Manuel Cape's always a little bit more active when he's in, the ring as opposed to the cage. But he was very inactive last night, to the point where it was a little concerning. It might have been like maybe UFC jitters. I mean, it wouldn't be as... it wouldn't be as effective, the UFC jitters, because you're not walking out to a massive crowd. You're walking out to the apex where the only fucking crowd is the cut man, your cornerman, whatever UFC executives have to be there, the broadcast crew. Like, those are the only fans. So you don't have thousands of screaming fans screaming your name. So I don't understand how to be the UFC jitters, but at the same time, I'm not a professional fighter. I've never been in that situation before. It's very interesting. I would like to know what actually went through his mind last night. But yeah, no, good win for Pantoja. He did everything he had to. He just stayed calm, controlled the octagon, kept cutting Manuel Cape off, kept backing him up and keeping him backed up because he'd throw 1-2s a lot. At one point, he actually made Manuel Cape guess with a 1-2 head kick combo because Manuel Cape wasn't expecting a third shot. He was expecting the 1-2. And all of a sudden he gets clipped. But honestly, the entire fight was very interesting to watch, but incredible showcase by Pantoja. He was very patient, and he played a very smart game. That's all I can really say is he played a very, very smart game. But with that out of the way, let's get to the one fight that I was really excited for because it's just veterans against veterans. Michael Johnson versus Clay Guida. I thought for some reason that this was going to be on the prelims, but then I remembered, no, that's the Bobby Green Jim Miller fight. I'll talk about that next week because yes, next week is UFC 258, Usman versus Burns, and I'll get into that, probably at the end of the show. I'll just kind of name down the fights that are happening that night, but this fight was very exciting, but it was a little bit more one-sided than I expected. Michael Johnson, like I said, a while back when he was in the UFC from I believe 2012 till now. A while back though, he was known as the best big thing. He wasn't exactly a gatekeeper in the lightweight division, but he wasn't exactly top two material, title shot contender, but he was still a really good fighter. And all of a sudden, recently, he's just been on this complete skid, and it makes me wonder what happened to Michael Johnson. But nonetheless, he was going up against a guy who just, despite him aging, his heart never goes away. Clay Guida is just a complete brawler, an animal inside the cage. And that's exactly what he did last night. He was constantly first to everything, constantly throwing strikes, pawing at Michael Johnson, keeping his hands out of the way, mixing up the takedowns and everything, and just completely controlling the fight. I thought this was going to be a little bit more back and forth than I expected, but Clay Guida, for some reason, just blew Michael Johnson out of the water. It wasn't a beatdown per se, but in terms of points, it was an easy 30-27 in my opinion. Clay Guida, from start to finish, played a very veteran game plan, mixed his game plan very well. And just, my lord, looked incredible. I was so excited. I was like, wow, this is how Clay Guida looks. He does not have to hang it up for a while. Obviously, no top contender shit for him, but I want to see him fight a bit more. That was awesome, If Clay Guida isn't aging, then obviously he needs to keep going. If he's not getting, chinnied by the slightest little punch, he needs to keep going, man. But obviously, if he's ready to hang up the gloves, he's ready to hang up the gloves. But it was a good win for Clay Guida. I'm excited to see who he fights next. I would love to see Clay Guida against another veteran. Who would, that's another question, who I'd like to see him against. That's something that I'd have to think about over time, but I'd love to see Clay Guida fight again just because I just love the way Clay Guida fights. It's very unpredictable, very animalistic, and he's a great all-around fighter, so you get to see all aspects of MMA. But, even though you get to see all aspects of MMA, he always makes it a fucking sloppy brawl, and it's so fun to watch. So, oh, God, I was so excited for this fight, and good win by Clay Guida. Tough luck by Michael Johnson. His record's looking pretty abysmal now. 20 wins, 17 losses. He's getting very close to being 20-20. But... I'm hoping that either Michael Johnson hangs it up and, just decides this isn't for him anymore, or, he gets back in the win column, but that's on Michael Johnson. Tough luck for him. Great win by Clay Guida. That being said, that brings us into the co-main event of the evening, and, this was a guaranteed barn burner of a co-main event, and it did not go the way I expected. Holy shit. In the co-main event, we have Corey Sandhagen, who is a top bantamweight contender, a young guy who's just surging. One of his two losses coming recently by the man who is currently facing the bantamweight champion for the title at UFC 260, I believe. Corey Sandhagen recently came off of a win against Marlon Moraes, a very nasty, I believe, wheel kick KO that just dropped Marlon Moraes and set him on his ass and finished him. But he's up against Frankie Edgar, who's no slouch. He's a veteran in this game, former lightweight champion. He's fought in 3 different weight classes. Very successful in 2 of them. I'd say he was the lightweight champion in lightweight. He was fairly successful, even fought for the title a couple times at featherweight. Bantamweight, this was his recent outing, and he looked really good at bantamweight. I believe his first fight was Pedro Munoz, and that was his most recent victory, which was a complete war where he actually showed his, veteran mentality and everything. He did great. Unfortunately, though, this fight did not go in his favor, and he did not get to show his grizzled veteran mindset, because Corey Sandhagen backed up Frankie right away until Frankie got him against the cage, and they were just kind of circling, and Frankie was just hitting him with leg kicks and every now and then, and Corey Sandhagen was hitting him with jabs every now and then, but he was very patient and waited until, I don't know if Frankie went for he was going for a takedown or something, but Corey Sandhagen does this little switch knee, this jumping switch knee, and hits Frankie Edgar and knocks Frankie Edgar out cold like a stiff board in 28 seconds. And I was so upset, but I was so happy for Corey Sandhagen. And Corey Sandhagen had the same mindset I did, apparently, because he was so happy for himself. But when they were calling him as the winner, he looked like he was on the verge of tears. When he was interviewed in the back, he sounded like he was on the verge of tears. He showed that he was an all-around just good dude. There was so much respect between these two, and it was an amazing knockout by Corey Sandhagen. That's 2 incredible knockouts now. One against the former lightweight champion, who's an absolute veteran in this game and hasn't been knocked out by many people. The only other person to knock him out was Brian Ortega. And then his other knockout win was against Marlon Moraes, who was the former PFL bantamweight champion and is a very, very successful top contender in the UFC division. So, Corey Sandhagen's up there for a title shot. What I think should happen, because he even said it, let Yan and Aljo fight for the title. He's going to have a little nap and rest and see how that goes. And he's going to fight whoever wins. And that's what I think should happen. Obviously, I don't know much about Aljo's plans when he wins the title, but I know Yan said, Peter Yan said that if he defends the title successfully against Aljo, he wants a fight against TJ Dillashaw when TJ comes back, which doesn't make sense to me. A lot of people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but yes, TJ is the former bantamweight champion. He never lost his title. He only lost at flyweight. He only lost his title because he popped for EPO, but that's my point. He popped for EPO, and he hasn't fought for 2 years. Meanwhile, we've got this murderer's row of bantamweights that deserve title shots, and yet he gets to skip the line. I don't think that should be allowed, because he not only did he pop for a performance enhancing drug, but he hasn't fought in 2 years. In his last fight, even though he took a performance enhancing drug to make flyweight, he got starched in 30 seconds by Henry Cejudo. So yeah, I don't think he should be getting the title shot at all. But anyway, getting into the final fight of the evening, the main event. The reason why people watch this, the marquee, Alistair Overeem going up against Alexander Volkov. And it went the exact way you thought it was going to. Both guys, kickboxers, both able to change the course of the fight with literally one shot. And that's exactly what happened. It started off, Alistair Overeem was very calm. Volkov came out very aggressive, was hitting Overeem with all sorts of punches and kicks. Overeem kept it very calm, picked his shots, hurt Volkov, got the body lock, and unfortunately didn't get the body lock, but that was the majority of the first round was Volkov trying to kind of put Alistair Overeem away. Overeem just being patient, taking the shots in stride and picking his shots, precisely. And, it was looking good for the Reem, not looking bad for Volkov, but it was looking good for the Reem going into the second round. He just looked a little bit beat up on the face. That's about it. But that, that should have been the telling sign of things to come, because coming into the second round, just from the opening bell, it was Alexander Volkov from the opening bell. Volkov was hitting him with all these head kicks, these body kicks, circling around and keeping him backing up against the cage, and just constantly hitting him with these left hands. It started off with these constant left jabs that kept getting through the guard of Overeem, kept hurting him. One of the jabs actually wobbled Overeem, and then after he saw that Reem was just hurt, he started hitting him with more jabs, and then started mixing up some right hands and some uppercuts into it, and then started, going into a flurry of combos. And Overeem was surviving. He was doing a great job surviving, and he got to the point, he got away to the point where they were in the middle of the octagon, but Reem was so hurt that one shot by Volkov when they're in the middle made Reem fall on all fours, and that was it. The ref saw it. Reem was fucked. Reem got destroyed badly. And honestly, I've seen a lot of people talking big on Volkov. I don't think we should be talking big on Volkov yet. He just beat Alistair Overeem. Give him another top contender and see if he deserves a title shot. But that was a great performance by Volkov, I have to say. He came out aggressive, noticed that his aggressiveness wasn't working, played patient, just picked his shots, waited till Reem kind of tired himself out a bit with those body locks, and Volkov noticed he was hurt, started hitting him with the left jab that was getting through, noticed he wobbled him, and capitalized on it. It was a great show out by Volkov. So, anyway, that was it for this card. Honestly, it was a great card. It actually delivered, in person, not just on paper. It delivered on broadcast too. It was great. So, if you guys have Fight Pass, definitely go back and watch this card. At least, the main card. The main card was pretty fucking awesome. The Mike Rodriguez fight was a little bit boring because Danilo Marquez pretty much just laid on top of him most of the time. But all the other fights beyond that, they were very exciting, very fast paced, just fun to watch. So if you have Fight Pass and you're looking to catch up on these fights, definitely go check them out. See them for your own eyes. It's awesome. But anyway, that's it for this event. I will quickly just tell you who the 258 main card is, so then I can tell you if you should buy it or not. Personally, I'm probably going to end up buying it. Wink, wink. But let's get into it anyway. So the main event is Kamaru Usman, the welterweight champion, up against his former teammate in Gilbert Burns. This was supposed to happen in July of 2020. UFC 251, I believe. It was supposed to happen at UFC 251. Unfortunately, Gilbert Burns contracted COVID. He's been very forthright about his experience with it, how it was very brutal and everything. There was a point in time where he woke up and he thought he was going to fucking die, stuff like that. But he's good now, so, we've been waiting a while for this matchup. Everybody knows that. UFC 251, he had to pull out, so Masvidal stepped in on short notice. But anyway, so we got that for the welterweight title, which is going to be a fun fight because both guys are grapplers, but Gilbert Burns is very dangerous on the ground with a black belt in jiu-jitsu. But this is the thing. With two grapplers that are good wrestlers and are dangerous on the ground, you're almost guaranteed a striking fight because no guy wants to get into that game plan with them. They don't want to test each other's game plan because, they're both thinking, fuck, if I take this guy down, he's going to get a guillotine. Or if I fucking get on this guy, if I'm on the back and this guy's on top of me, he's just going to get an arm anyway and throw in an arm bar easy. Like, he's, his submission game's slick. So, obviously there's a lot to think about here, but I'm expecting a striking battle between two grapplers and I'm excited for it. However, the rest of this card is looking meh, honestly. The rest of this main card's looking pretty meh. The co-main is Macy fucking Barber and Alexa Grasso. That is the worst fucking co-main event I have ever fucking heard. Not because it's a woman's fight, just because it's fucking Macy Barber. Macy Barber and Alexa Grasso. Macy Barber got her shit pushed in by the gatekeeper, Roxanne Modafferi. I'm sorry, Roxy. I love you. You're my favorite women's fighter, but you are a gatekeeper. And you beat Macy Barber's ass. Now they're putting her up against Alexa Grasso, who's an absolute incredible women's flyweight. And, yeah, no. I'm just going to say this now. Bet on Grasso, guys. Bet on Grasso. I don't see Macy winning this unless suddenly she just fucking had some Zenkai boost like a Super Saiyan and fucking, she's the greatest fighter in the world now. But yeah, no, that is a terrible co-main event. And below that fight, we've got Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch, which is actually a pretty decent fight. Why is that not the co-main event? And below that is Pedro Munoz versus Jimmy Rivera. Like, that should be the co-main event. That itself should be the co-main event. And obviously to open up the card, we have Maki Pitolo versus Julian Marquez. But I believe there's actually a couple prelim fights that should be on the main card. Yeah, okay, so we have Bilal Muhammad versus Diego Lima. That's a pretty good fight. That could be an easy main card fight. And Jim Miller versus Bobby Green to headline the prelims. But I have an issue with that. Why isn't that the co-main or something? Because at least that's more name brand value. That just... God, that actually angers me. That being said, this card's gonna be great. It's just, that co-main makes me so upset. That is a prelim fight at best, a prelim headliner at best. My God, that is a terrible co-main. Anyway, the rest of the main card's looking pretty decent. For casuals, I wouldn't buy it. For hardcore guys, I guess you could buy it. It's got some good name value. As long as you skip the Macy Barber fight and then you tune your watch for the Kamaru Usman fight, you'll be good. But every other fight on the main card is worth it, I'd say. A lot of people are saying it's not, but, Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch, Pedro Munoz versus Jimmy Rivera, Maki Pitolo versus Julian Marquez at middleweight. Also known as Kelvin Gastelum Jr., because they literally look the fucking same. It's going to be a fun fight card. Just, my God, I'm really upset that Macy Barber is the co-main event. They could have done something better. You know what they could have done? I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure both Figgy and Moreno are on like a 6-month suspension for like medical leave. But they could have made that the co-main event. Or they could have made that the main event and Usman versus Burns the co-main event. But they had to make some 2-bit cocky little girl against an actual fucking fighter, an actual top contender, the co-main event. They really just want to embarrass Macy Barber at this point. Like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, that's it from me. That's it for this episode. This episode went on for a little bit too long. I will catch you guys next week when UFC 258 is done, and you can hear me complain more about Macy Barber, whether she won or lost, because I'm still, no matter what the result is, I'm going to complain about her being the co-main event. Mark my words. But anyway, I'll see you guys on the next episode. I will see you guys on Wednesday for a very special Dillo's Dojo mini. It's going to be a very important one. Something political. It's going to be like the Nigeria situation. I'm going to be covering what's going on in Myanmar, aka Burma, and just kind of raise some awareness for the absolute corruption and martial law that's kind of occurring over there. So I'll get into that. But anyway, I will see you guys on Wednesday, and if not, I will see you guys on Sunday after UFC 258. Anyway, I hope you guys have an amazing week. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend if you're listening to this on the Sunday it's out. I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
You've been listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast. Keep in touch with Dillo on his social media at Dillo Ross on Twitter and Dillo Ross on Instagram.